to talk to you today about one of the greatest dangers, one of the greatest pitfalls, one of the greatest traps in spiritual life. And that is the difference between the love of money and a desire to prosper so that you can help other people. Now, most of us here in Manila, we grew up poor. We had nothing. And we always wanted to help people, so we always did what we can. But if you notice, as we have prospered, we are able to do that. We are able to help people. We're able to help pastors in the provinces that have nothing. We're able to build churches. We're able to feed the poor. We couldn't do that when we were poor. We had nothing to give. We gave what little we had, but it never amounted to much. Now, I get a little irritated with people who want to talk about anybody who has a home and a car and, a little bit of money in the bank, and someone who's got a little bit of prosperity. Well, they're a lover of money. Well, no, that's just somebody's envy and jealousy talking, trying to find a spiritual way to criticize. But there is, and I would not call it a fine line. I would call it, my goodness, I would call it an ocean of difference between a desire to prosper so that you can help people and a love of money. Now look at what Paul tells young Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 6, beginning with verse 5. He said, these people always cause trouble. Their minds are corrupt. They've turned their backs on truth. To them, a show of godliness is just a way to become wealthy. Now notice, there are people that put on a show of godliness just because they want to get money. They want to get offerings from you. Oh, we're so holy, give us money. Give me a break. Yet true godliness, when contentment, is in itself great wealth. So godliness with contentment, learning to be happy with whatever you have, that's great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into this world, and we cannot take anything with us when we leave this world. I mean, please, we were born naked with nothing when we came into this world, and when we leave this world, we take nothing with us to heaven. I mean, it's just, everything is just, it's here. It's temporary. Paul said, so Timothy, so if we have enough food and clothing, let's be content. But the people who long to get rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money, not having money, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And some people, craving for money, have wandered from the true faith and have pierced themselves with many sorrows. Now, I want you to notice here, the problem is not a desire to help people. The problem is a desire to be rich for yourself, a desire to just have things for yourself. Now, we should never have these desires. Well, I want a Rolls Royce. Well, if you want a Rolls Royce, fine, but I would much rather have an SUV that I can get through the floods and do my visitation in. Do you want to have something so that you can be blessed to be a blessing? Or do you want to have something so that you can be selfish with it? Now there's a huge demarcation line. And I found that people that do not have much have a much stronger love for money than people who do have. You can meditate on that one for a while. Now notice, when you have this desire for wealth just for yourself, he says in verse 9, you fall into temptation. Temptation like a big pit in front of you, and you fall into it. He said you're going to be trapped by many foolish and harmful desires. Now notice, there's traps. The love of money, it's a trap. This desire to get rich for selfish reasons, just to have more for yourself, there's traps out there. And it's a foolish desire that will trap you, and it's a harmful desire that will trap you. You say, well, how does that work, Pastor? Well, have you ever talked to a guy who just lost everything because wanting to get rich, he took one big proverbial roll of the dice. He took one big gamble in business, wanting to hit it big. And the next thing you know, he lost everything. That was the trap of a foolish and a harmful desire, risking everything rather than just making a little bit more every day, rather than just rolling the money every day. I'm going to risk it all because I can get rich quick, going after the one big deal. That's a foolish and harmful desire. People who will spend everything just to have one thing. Well, the parable of the pearl, Pastor, yeah, but I think that's taken out of context. Spend everything you have to have one thing, and then you lose it all. Credit card debt is a good illustration of foolish and harmful desires that bring destruction. And again, in verse 9, he closes out this temptation, foolish, harmful desire traps, because it plunges you into ruin. But now go on to verse 10. He explains it now. Remember, Paul's not just a proclaimer, he's an explainer. He explains it. He said, now let me tell you why this works. He said, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Now, the root is what you don't see. The root is what's underneath the ground, and the root is what brings the nourishment to everything above ground. He said, so all these evil desires and evil things that you see up here, all this sin that you see up here, is fed by something underneath that you cannot see. And that thing that is in a Christian life that feeds the drunkenness, the womanizing, the corruption, the stealing, the thing that feeds all of that, the hidden part of it that nourishes all that other sin in life is the love of money. So he said it's the root of all evil. It is the root. The root is the part of the plant underground that you cannot see that nourishes everything above ground. So all the sin that you see is being nourished by this one bad attitude of the love of money. And he said, you know what? Some people craving money, they always want more. A greedy person, the Bible says in Proverbs, you can never give them enough. And some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. So notice, they wander. Did not say they make a one-time decision. It's not an all or nothing decision one time. They just slowly begin to wander from the faith. Beloved, let's have a desire to prosper, to be blessed, to be a blessing. But let's never have a desire to get rich because we want more for ourselves. Again, the difference in these two hearts is a chasm as big as eternity.